Hello, 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 and welcome to ER Emotional Response. This is Life Coaching with Ink Ivory. How are you doing? I hope all is world in the digital world and the real world and the world to come for everyone that's under the sound of my voice. We're growing. We just completed our first racy episode. It was a little on the explicit side, but it was necessary because of the topic at hand. We was discussing the novel called The Secret Life of Tooshy. It's a 10-story novel. It has 10 miniature stories that comprise it, that make it a novel. And the long and short of it is captivating. It is enticing. Any words that will relate to getting your adrenaline rushing, getting your ideas flowing, igniting that flame of passion that might have went out, or intensifying the passion that you already have. This book is a definite must read for those that are in committed relationships, those that are married, those that are wanting to maintain a level of respect, not just for others, but mainly for themselves, that they're not spoiling their body with just anyone, but they are exploring the ideas of exploring the sexual genre in a way that they never did before. So I know that's a mouthful what I just said. However, if I could sum it up, it's learning how to enjoy the physical aspect of your relationship while refraining from wasting your body on people that are not worth your time or day. And even though people might be available, it's so much that comes with it. And we talked about that on part one. That the consequences of rushing into sexual experiences with people that you don't know, it might be a consequence that you might have not ever factored in. Emotional, mental, and it could bring on the physical. And I'm not talking about STDs and pregnancies, because that's the most common. I'm talking about more so the consequence of having one emotionally off. Just emotionally off. A lot of times when we dive into the sexual realm, we come to the table with people that we're sexually attracted to, and we almost convince ourselves that we can handle a casual connection. And some have did an injustice to themselves, because after the word casual, they done said relationship. Casual relationship. It's not a relationship. A relationship entails so much. And when you look at that word, you are careful and mindful of when you use that word. If it's a casual connection, it's not a relationship. And so you don't want to blur the lines on having expectations of phone calls, texts, and frequency of seeing that person or not seeing that person. It starts with you. How you label things. You go and you open a refrigerator. You know the ketchup is the ketchup because you labeled it properly. Just because it looks like the hot sauce and it's red, it's the word I'm looking for is the ingredients that amount both of them. It's texture, it's density, it's substance, how concrete the substance is. Ketchup is a little more concrete than hot sauce. And so even though they run the same colors, they have two different forms and substance. When you pour hot sauce, it's a little more looser. When you pour ketchup, it's a little more, it comes out a little more clumped up. Unless you have it sitting in your cupboards. But if it's in your refrigerator 20 times out of 20, it is a little more clumpier when it comes out. And I don't know why I need to stress this, but I need to stress it because a lot of times people blur the lines with casual connections. And I know 70 to 80% of the time the line is blurred because of what word follows after casual. It's not a casual relationship. It's a casual connection. And so a connection can be on or off. It could be momentarily or long term. It doesn't have the expectations that a relationship has. And so you can't say casual relationships because it's not a relationship. It's a casual connection. And we have been confused for so many years because we have called it a relationship and it's not. And so if you see this person out in public with someone else, sometimes possessive tendencies flare up and you look at them more so as property, thinking, why are they with that person, or why are they engaging with that person, or why are they conversing so long? They're not your property. And even in a relationship, a person is not your property. However, I think in casual, I know when it comes to casual connections, because we label relationships, we blur the lines on everything, all types of definitions. So you're supposed to have possession over property, possession over cars, possession over houses, possession over land. But because you're already mislabeling a relationship, you're mislabeling the properties under it. It's not a relationship, it's a connection. So because you're mislabeling the connection, let me correct myself. You tend to mislabel the properties under it. And so you look at that person and you think sexually that person is bound to you. It's just a connection. And even if y'all step in agreement for it to be exclusive, just know the disclaimer is they might step out because it's not a relationship. And women are more likely than men to fall victim to that. And then they get hurt and they turn to the man. Well, why you said this? Why you did this? You have to have a clear harness on your emotions. You have to have more of a grasp of your heart than anybody else in the world. So even if their definitions is blurred, even if they blur the lines and say X, Y, and Z, you are supposed to be the person to give clarity. And though it might not seem like a necessary duty you should be obligated to do, but sometimes you need to. Because the way sex is wired is not wired to be handled casually. even though we do, and I have in the past casually, you are entwined with that person more than just the physical realm, but the emotional realm. And when you know that reality, you don't dive into casual connections with just anyone. You're very mindful. Very mindful. You are responsible for your body. You are responsible for your heart. If something happens, you play a part in that experience. And that's what alleviates you from getting bitter and broken and not trusting. Because at the end of the day, every human being is not the same. You can't walk around and say all men are bad or all females is bad. Take ownership of each experience. What part did you play in it? And if you didn't play a part, at what point did you stop playing? Because just because you stop and put a hold at declaring and vocalizing certain things, that don't mean you're a victim. You sometimes being mute, and that in itself is an action. And so you play a part. When you were supposed to speak up or say something, you didn't. And I know this seems like it's going off topic, but I think it's necessary on a platform of emotional wellness because we are intertwined with one another when we physically engage with one another, and when we have a clear understanding of labels. I think we produce more healthy communication, more healthy connections, and I'm a firm believer in that. Now, expounding on part 2 of The Secret Life of Tooshy, I want to talk about my favorite chapter, which is chapter 1. Chapter 1 is diving in to role playing. And I'm not taking away the possibility that role play plays throughout the rest of the book. But this is my favorite chapter. This is the chapter that grabs me by the neck and says, dive in. And I know for a fact it will for you. Even if you take the book and you decide to read it as a foreplay with your significant other, you could role play. And so role playing consists of having an imagination and being creative. And the best thing or the best time to do it is with someone that you're in a long-term relationship and marriage with. It's the best time because it's certain things that breed out of a long-term relationship. It's a level of stick-to-itiveness that you will have with that person. And knowing that you tend to let your guard down a lot more than a stranger. Now, some people can be all in, goose when they get liquor in their system, and it doesn't matter who they're with, or they could have a controlled substance and they could dive into things regardless who the person is. But on a sane level,